Hey, Ben Brown, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. I missed talking with you the past
I
couple
know,
days, so I'm glad we
I
got
know.
to run it back a little bit
I
here
know
on
we're
Monday
gonna we're
night.
gonna get it back together here. But hey everyone, I am your host, Kendall Valenzuela, and I am joined as always by Ben Brown, data scientist at PFF, and we are here to give you the best bets, Ben, for tonight's matchup. Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears heading to Heinz Field to try and upset. But I don't know, Ben, to you it won't be. You're kind of predicting a little Bears win tonight against the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I like them to at least cover +7. I think,
Okay.
I think they're going to be able to keep it close. 39.5, 40-point total that has moved up a little bit. Day of, so maybe we see just a little bit more points being scored, but a 7-point spread on this low of a total is just really difficult number to cross. So I'm definitely liking the Bears at least keeping it close, probably with losing within a field goal differential is my prediction right now. So
Hate to see it. All right, well, let's get into it then. Let's start with Ben Brown, Ben Roethlisberger. I'm just so used to saying your name. Let's start with Big Ben. We like the over 33.5 pass attempts tonight, and really, I mean, he's leading Pittsburgh with 1,515 passing yards and has a 65.1 completion percentage this year. 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and I don't know. I like this number with you, Ben. 34.5 seems doable.
Yep, and definitely. And you can even get a better number, 33.5 in some spots. It's already popping up. I do think we're going to see, a high volume Steelers passing attack. Obviously, Big Ben, known for his low average depth of target in 2021. I think there's basically 4 quarterbacks lower than him. So from that perspective, we're going to see a number of attempts. We're going to see a number of probably completions as well. If they're able to kind of sustain some drives, the Bears offense is just a little bit, of a different makeup, especially with Justin Fields at quarterback. So I think they're going to have a number of opportunities to go over. And this is, his lowest number that he's had basically by 4 pass attempts all season. So I like this one quite a bit here on Monday night.
I feel like the Bears too, they're like clearly struggling and the Steelers are kind of winning. We talked about this before, like ugly, tightly played games. So I feel like that's kind of the game script you and I are planning to see tonight, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think it's going to be, a little bit low scoring. I do think when the Bears do score, which I think they're going to, it's going to be on, either a really solid run by Justin Fields or something deep down the field to, a guy like Darnell Mooney or, Marquise Goodwin or somebody, but we'll talk a little bit more about him later on toward the end of the show. So.
All right, cool. Well, then let's move on to Justin Fields. We like his under 18.5 completions. He's averaging just like 11.75 completions through 8 games. He has a 65.7 QB rating. The under again looks good, 18.5 for tonight. Between the kind of more top ranked pass rush and playing at Heinz Field, like the crowd should not be underestimated there, at least in my opinion, on the road. That's gonna be a test.
Right, definitely. I mean, and they haven't necessarily been living up to those tests that they've had so far.
Yeah.
But there is like a really big contradicting styles between these two quarterbacks, right? We talked about Ben Roethlisberger, low average depth of target. Justin Fields sits second overall in the NFL at high average depth of target. So if he's not, looking to throw the ball downfield to one of his receivers, he's taking off in a scramble. So he's looking for some of those big chunk plays. So from that perspective, we're not going to see a dip and dunk offense be successful from the Bears perspective against the Steelers, front 7. So if they do win, it's going to have to be over the top. So I expect Justin Fields probably to finish lower than his completion percentage or completion numbers have set out, kind of right where he has been at historically. And he's kind of lived right around this number. So given the defensive matchup, everything else, definitely like Fields to probably go under 18.5 completions.
Should I ask why we didn't bring up the quarterback rushing prop? I was kind of looking at it and then I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
30,
just,
what was he set at? 35 and a half?
It's a little bit higher than that, actually. I think it's creeped up basically to 40.5 now. I think he's 40.5. So, I mean, after like the 3-week break of, him, basically going well over this number, and he got 103 yards last week at a 30.5 number. It is basically back to where he was when he was starting in week 3,
Okay.
49.5, 42.5. So I think that is a much more realistic and fair number. I
That
did
makes
ride it the
sense.
last 3 weeks, but I'm not going to buy into it tonight, I
So that
guess.
is why we always love the quarterback rushing
Me
prop, but
too.
when it's Ben Roethlisberger and Justin Fields, there's not much we can do here.
Right.
But let's go. I'm going to interest you in some anytime touchdown scorers. So I guess I can start with. I like Fryermuth. I don't know why. I do know why though. It's a feeling mixed with the fact that he's going to be picking up the slack. He's seen 7 targets in back-to-back games, and he has benefited from like Juju Smith-Schuster, Ebron, those injuries. And he has 2 touchdowns this season. Now, the only thing that made me a little questionable is that he scored last week. But I do think Ben and him are kind of creating a little bit of chemistry, and he's going to maybe look his way early and often over the middle.
Yep.
So that's one, if you may. And then the other is kind of a wild card because we like to do that, and that's Justin Fields. Only based on the game plan that we were just talking about. I think they're going to be a little desperate at some point. I think they're going to be down. And he's carried the ball 10 times for 103 yards and a touchdown. I think it's worth the shot. I think Nagy and the Bears need to get Fields like in a space that allow him to exploit defenses. And I feel like with his legs, while he might not go over his quarterback rushing prop, I think that when you're in the zone and he's there and he doesn't see something that he likes, he's going to use his legs to try and get his team up as much as he can.
Yeah, I definitely, and I really liked Pat Freiermuth one. He's basically was at 80% snap share last week, close to 70% of the routes run. So definitely a guy heavily involved in the red zone. So like you said, pretty decent plus price. And you have been, you've been hot on the anytime touchdown scorers from the quarterback perspective. With the Ryan Tannehill sprinkle last night. So I think you got to run it back, double down here. So
we're trying.
I like the play.
It'll be interesting. Those are just fun to have around. I wouldn't, Justin Fields should be fun to watch. I don't know, but it should be an interesting game. So let's go Cole Kmet. This one was interesting to me. You like the under 2.5 receptions, and you said you went back and forth. So I'm going to say that for you. You did go back and forth, but I think that has as much to do with, his track record as it does with Justin Fields.
Right.
Honestly, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is basically it, right? I do like all 3 of the receivers for the Bears that they're going to put out there. Of course, Allen Robinson has gotten, criticized heavily for just not being involved whatsoever. But I think it's Cole Kmet that probably takes a back seat. I already like Justin Fields, under 18.5 completion. So obviously the target share somewhere is going to be just stretched a little bit too thin. So at a plus price with Cole Kmet, I just think that, given kind of how we project the game to go out, we're going to need the Bears to kind of be taking more of those downfield threats with, once again, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and Marquise Goodwin. So I think Cole Kmet kind of falls to the wayside here. And he hasn't, he's gone over this number each of the last 3 games. Before that, it was a really tough stretch for him. So maybe if they manufacture 1 or 2 targets for him, he's going to go over. But I don't really see that being the game plan from Matt Nagy on Monday night. So I kind of definitely like the under here and the plus price. So.
And Fields has, I think in your article on pff.com/betting, you had him at a 76.5 passer rating when targeting Kmet this season. So
yeah,
it's not been great. It's not been great. But then I saw the team account tweet a photo of Kmet's jersey, and I was almost willing to text you and be like, I think we have to switch it up. Like, I think he goes off because they're tweeting a photo of his jersey pregame. So that is going to be the only asterisk I say tonight, is that they tweeted his jersey and they knew what he was capable of tonight.
Right.
So that's the only thing. All right, well then let's do Chase Claypool. You like we're doing the unders, which is okay, but we do like his under 4.5 receptions. He is locked into really that every down role for Pittsburgh. So we keep saying it. It's with the game script that's going on. I think that it's just he has a great matchup, I guess, against a bad secondary, but we just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and I think And I think the interesting thing about this particular bet is how you expect the Steelers, target distribution to break out, how they actually, expect to attack this Bears secondary, because they are decently strong in some spots. I do like a guy like Jalen Johnson, who I think is the cornerback who you want to be the most worried about from the Bears perspective. He has shadowed in 2 games so far this this season against, Odell Beckham and the Cleveland Browns in week 3, and then against
Mm-hmm.
the Packers and Devontae Adams in week since. So it seems like only when there's kind of that alpha wide receiver 1 case is he going to probably be playing in that shadow coverage. So I expect him to probably move around, see some of Chase Claypool, some of Diontae Johnson. I think that the Steelers are probably going to game plan Diontae Johnson open when he's not faced off against Jalen Johnson. So I think
Mm-hmm.
he's going to have probably more winnable matchups here. So I do like, Diontae Johnson to go over his reception total, and Chase Claypool would probably
Nice.
go under his. So I think, that's kind of the key matchup in place that I think you can probably make the most money here betting player
Yeah.
props on Monday night. So
I think I like Johnson's. If you had to pick one, at least for me, I like Johnson's over 6.5 receptions more than Chase Claypool's under.
right, yeah,
Are
and
you
I
on
would
the
agree.
same page there?
I would
Okay.
definitely agree with that, and especially if we talked earlier about it, Big Ben going over his pass attempts.
Yes.
Probably want
Yes.
to lean more towards his receivers going over as well, as opposed to probably sweating out the under. So I definitely agree with you. I think Diontae Johnson over 6.5 receptions, much better play than Chase Claypool under. But I
And he
don't
had a
mind. I don't mind them both as kind of a little bit of a hedge or something. So
Yeah, he had a good week last week too.
right,
I think 6 passes for 98 yards, and he was targeted 13 times. So I think that, like, tonight, I think over 6.5 receptions against the Bears. I mean, the Bears are giving up 252.8 passing yards per game, and they're the 12th ranked pass defense. So
right.
I don't know. I can see Deontay Johnson having a good night tonight for over. Like, not that Chase Claypool won't, but with production, we just like betting the over too. The
Right.
under is hard. The under is hard to do with you
It
when I have to
takes
text you every time.
Yeah, it takes an interesting person to be able to bet unders all the time. I know
Ugh.
it's something it is what it is, right? But I don't mind it now. But I do agree with you. I think Deontay Johnson over 6.5 could see somewhat of a similar game to what we saw from Cooper Kupp yesterday. Really low average depth of target. Obviously, Cooper Kupp went well over his reception total. Didn't quite get
Mhm.
over his receiving yardage number. So I think that's kind of what the game that I see from Deontay Johnson here tonight. So
All right, cool. Well, then let's go to our last prop for tonight, which is Marquise Goodwin over 12.5 receiving yards. This is also, like, I think, but besides the Deontay Johnson one, this one's my favorite. And I know we
right,
say that all the time, but this one really is my favorite. He's the third receiver on a team that doesn't throw the ball really unless they have to, but I think they're going to have to tonight. I
yeah.
mean, they're 7-point dogs on the road. Like, it's just they're gonna try and hit anyone and everyone they can to not go down to the Steelers.
Right, right, definitely. And I agree with you 100%. Godwin's basically played, 47% of the offensive snaps the past 3 weeks. He's over
Hmm.
50% of, routes run per drop back, and has like the 10% target share. So that is, not a really high number, but it has been trending in the right direction for him. And the interesting thing that kind of jumped out to me from his perspective is he actually has the lowest average depth of target among
Oh,
all 3 Bears wide receivers the past 3 weeks. So maybe he gets, some of those easier, shorter depth of
interesting.
target throws
Yeah.
if they happen for the Bears here. And, with his world class speed, with his kind of, game breaking ability, I think he can easily get over this number with 1 reception. So that's why I do like it. I think it might be my overall favorite bet besides Pat Freiermuth anytime touchdown scorer. So
We love Fearmouth. It's gonna happen. I can feel it. We're just kind of on that streak where it's just nothing can go wrong for us, like
right.
crossing our fingers. But let's do. I know you have a same game parlay for us. We talked about being hot. Those have been hot too. We
Yep.
cannot. I cannot go like gloss over the fact that those have been really good. So I'm excited to hear this one.
Yeah, definitely. So I am changing it up. I had one in the article. I kind of like
Oh,
this one a little bit more, but I do like
okay.
Bears plus 3.5 first half. I do lean
Oh.
toward them covering, but I think it's not necessarily the narrative that we've talked about a whole lot, but I do think
Hmm.
that they maybe can get out to a little bit of an early lead, especially if they hit one of those deep shots. So I like that. I like
Wow.
over 16.5 first half total points. And then I like Marquise Goodwin over 11.5 receiving yards. I do think he's the guy that potentially takes the top off of the Steelers defense here early on, hopefully in the first half. And I think those 3 all parlay together pays out right around plus 380, plus 385. So I like
Easy.
those. I like those 3 quite a bit. Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Chasing
see.
points. You don't usually chase points on
I
this show.
mean, I know it's a 39.5 point total. So I think,
Uh,
everyone's basically on the under. So you gotta zig when everyone else is zagging or something,
I
whatever
like
the
it.
phrase is. So
That's why you're here. That's why you're the data scientist here, if we're gonna be honest. That and you did change it though, because you did like Deontay Johnson's under receiving yards,
yep,
if I
yep,
remember
yeah.
correctly. So you did you're kinda off that one now?
Yeah, I consulted with you, consulted with some other people, and I do think that's
Oh
probably
no.
not the best approach here, especially taking the over. So I think I'm
Got it.
I'm off that one a little bit. I do like Marquise Goodwin a lot more to go over
Perfect.
11.5 receiving yards. So
Perfect. Well, let me just go through everything once again. You like Roethlisberger over 33 and a half pass attempts. Justin Fields under 18 and a half completions. That might have moved a little bit. And then we like Cole Kmet under 2.5 receptions. Claypool under 4.5 receptions. Diontae Johnson, our favorite one, over 6.5 receptions. And then Marquise Goodwin, our actual other favorite one, my other favorite one too, 12.5 receiving yards. So I like it. I think it's going to be a good game. You said it was going to kind of be low scoring, so you're kind
yeah,
of expecting a little bit of a fight there.
I think I actually kind of expect it to be maybe higher scoring to start off with, and I think it's going
Oh,
to get really choppy in the second half. I think that's probably when
rough.
the Bears are potentially, exposed a little bit. Maybe the Steelers can come back there. So that's kind of the narrative that I buy into a little bit. So maybe we see like a 14-3 first half game where,
Oh
the Bears are
gosh.
up early, and then, maybe the Steelers run it back here and fall either just short or go maybe over the total. It'll be interesting. I'm actually excited for it. I love watching Justin Fields. Not so much Ben Roethlisberger, but I do think it's going to be a intriguing matchup at least.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad Eric's not here on this show to talk about Big Ben, Big Ben, because it would not be good. So I'm with
right.
you. It should be fun. Thank you everyone again as always for joining us. We'll be back Thursday night for those bets. Thanks Ben Brown as always. Go to pff.com/betting. All the props, all the tools that you saw us use today. All of Ben Brown's articles as well. pff.com/betting. And good luck everyone.